Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. So for the culmination of our legal week on the Aks stage, we're going to be talking today about domestic violence law. So we'll particularly be talking about the Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act of 2000. We'll go through the rights involved within the Act and some shortcomings and things like that. I'd like to introduce Advocate Heena Panjabi. So I'll just say a couple of things about her. So she's been appointed at the Aks Foundation for over 6 years as a legal advisor and supervisor of the legal team. Her aim is to educate and spread knowledge about the law and women's empowerment. Over the years, she's been practicing mainly in the field of legal intervention, divorce, custody, domestic violence, and prevention of sexual harassment within the workplace. And currently, she's on the advisory board of the Aks Foundation as a legal advisor. So, welcome, Heena. And would you like to say anything else before we get started, or shall I dive in?
Thank you, Rishika, first of all. And I'm really glad actually we're doing this because, of course, we have the act in place. But just having the act is not enough. It is important to educate and talk about the rights in the act. So, yeah, I'm glad we're doing this, and let's get started.
Okay, great. So I'd first like to talk about some of the legal hurdles that women have to face while in the situation of domestic violence or intimate partner violence. So things that maybe prevent her from leaving or potentially filing a case.
So the legal hurdles, normally, per se, the hurdles that a woman faces is basically we still live in a male-dominated society. Okay, how much ever there may be women empowerment, there's women education, but still women are restricted. Women think about a lot of factors. So we have society that, what would the society say? What would the society talk about? About the children about their finances, about children's security. Then many a times there's finances because there's no financial independence in certain cases.
Yeah.
So there are various factors. Also, legally, they see one hurdle of file of lengthy trials. So because certain times the cases go on, so where does the woman go till then? Then there is also in Domestic Violence Act, the prerequisite is that the husband and wife or the couple, because it's also for live-in relations, should be living in a shared household.
Yeah.
And you can also file a case when you are living in the shared household. But here's the thing, if you are living together, then it may just be a little more risky. Many a times women also do not have knowledge about their original marriage certificate or about their ID cards, about the husband's assets, salary, what investments are there. So when they plan on filing, what are they going to ask for? So these are certain hurdles that they usually face. Also, if in certain cases, if the husband leaves, they do not have address. Like we had one case wherein the husband flew to another country and we didn't have the address. There was no knowledge. So where does the summons go? So also, of course, we have our lawyers' fees can be, a little high at certain times. And sometimes women feel that, there will be, if I file, there will be no reconciliation. So even if tomorrow, I just want to do this, but tomorrow I want to go back, they feel like it just won't work out that way. Maybe the abuse may increase. If they leave the household, the husband finds out where they stay, and tomorrow they may just go and start manipulating and abusing a lot more. So safety concerns and finances, children, society are mainly what we usually see why women don't face a hurdle from filing or leaving in that manner.
Okay, all right. And if we can focus on the DV Act. So if you can tell us some of the shortcomings specifically of the Act in terms of, sensitization and awareness generation programs. So how societal attitudes are towards these kind of things.
So like I mentioned earlier, of course, society, that is one of the hurdles, One always thinks that, what's going to happen, how is everything going to be perceived. Besides that, legally, okay, because our trials, like the lengthy trials, is one very demotivating factor, because the case can just go on, and the woman doesn't know where to go during that time. They're given certain suggestions that, oh, if you're working, stop working, because then you can't ask for maintenance. I think all of that was earlier in the time, but today it's very important to be financially independent. There's another thing. So under the law, there are certain orders that we ask for, which are final orders. And then we have interim orders, that is during the proceeding. So before you get the final order, during the proceeding, we can ask for interim orders. So usually what happens is we file a petition for the final order, and with that we file for an interim application. What happens is, if the interim application comes up, the opposite party can always appeal it. So again, there is, I mean, if you're asking for maintenance and there is an interim maintenance order, and again it has been appealed, so it just increases the length and duration of the entire process of the entire trial. Also, legally, I feel there is nothing towards sensitization of police people, I mean of the policemen, sorry, and also of the medical practitioners. So what usually happens is, what we've also faced, as being an NGO, when we go and, we go with the woman to file many a times, the husband says, the police says, oh, this is a family matter. Go sort it out at home. Why are you coming here? It is all in the family. It's nothing that we can do.
That we're hoping to.
It's it's extremely demotivating. Today, if someone has gathered, the woman has gathered all this courage to go, and suddenly the person who's supposed to be protecting her says that no, it's a family dispute and a family affair, and you sort it out at home, and we have nothing to do. And also the way they talk, interrogate, ask, they'll say, हो सकता है तुम्हारी गलती थी, हो सकता है तुमने कुछ. So they're constantly blaming. She's already going through something, and they're blaming her. Also with medical practitioners. So when there's physical abuse, we suggest to get a medical report done. So when that has to be done through a government hospital. So when they do go to a government hospital, many a times they're asked to wait. They're just not treated very fairly. So that sensitization and awareness programs are very important to take place among medical practitioners and police men and women, I feel. Also, there is no there's no order for shelter homes. Like, there aren't many shelter homes. So usually, women also feel like, where are we supposed to go? Can't go back there. Where are we supposed to stay? We don't have so much money. What do we do? There's no proper healthcare support. So I feel one major way where the law is lacking is, of course, we have protection officers. Okay. So when we can file for an order of a prohibitory order, and we can ask for protection officer. So in the middle, when we tried to find out where's the protection officer per se in Pune, I'll give you an example just of Pune. We found out that there's only one protection officer in entire Pune. So it is so difficult, because tomorrow, of course, if someone is being abusive at home, can be abusive outside too. So who are you supposed to contact when you're supposed to get a protection officer? Who are you supposed to contact at that time? So I feel these are a few of the legal shortcomings of the Act.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting that you mentioned the protection officer thing, because when we were doing the training for the helpline, we got the number. You're like, okay, you can give people the number to get a protection officer, but it's crazy that there's only one. I noticed that some people are asking questions on the chat, and so we'll get to that. Please do ask questions, and we'll just get to it towards the end, if that's okay.
Right.
So now I have a specific question about the actual procedure. So if someone wishes to file a complaint under the DV Act, how would they go about doing that?
Okay, so I'm going to talk very briefly about the Act, okay? Because it's important that everyone should know what are their reliefs under the Act. So, Domestic Violence Act is for an aggrieved person living in the shared household for their rights, okay? The abuses in this is not necessarily physical abuse, because many a times we get a call that, oh, but there is no bruise mark, or there is no physical violence, or he hit me once, but now it entails not only physical, but emotional, verbal, sexual, financial, All of these are included in the Domestic Violence Act. The orders that can be asked for the relief under the Act is maintenance, custody, residence, and for damages. There is no divorce under the Act. Okay, so this is only pertaining to these orders that for these reliefs that you can file. Usually, you can go file first. We suggest filing a FIR in the closest police station, but it's not mandatory. Okay, you do not need to only go to the police station near the matrimonial, the shared household where the incident took place. Today, if you're back at some other place or with your parents, you can file a zero FIR, and no police can deny that. They have to file the FIR. Of course, FIR is, as I stated, it is not compulsory. So the process is you go with the lawyer and you file a petition in the magistrate's court under domestic violence, and you ask for any of the reliefs as are stated in the Act. Again, as I told earlier, there is interim orders also. Interim orders are during the proceeding. So if you asked for a final order of, say, maintenance, you can ask for an interim during the proceeding order for maintenance too, because because of the lengthy trials, you need money, you need maintenance to maintain the children. So this is during the proceeding and interim order. So this is the actual procedure of how we go about with filing of the domestic violence case.
Okay, great. So I'd like to quickly just talk about COVID-19 because it's been such a big year for COVID, and I want to talk about how COVID-19 has placed certain restrictions on women in DV situations. And is there any way that you can talk about specifically for victims to get help or support during this time?
It has been a very difficult year, right? And of course, there has been increase in frustration levels everywhere. Frustration does come out on the spouse many a times. It comes out on the children, and domestic. In fact, during this lockdown, domestic violence cases have increased. Maharashtra itself reported a lot of calls regarding domestic violence. Of course, it is difficult during this time to actually call and go to a police station or get out of the house, and stay somewhere else. It is difficult during the lockdown, but now that there has been an ease in the restrictions, of course there are emergency numbers that can be called upon, which is 1091, 181, 1098 in case of child abuse. And then of course we have Aks Foundation. You can follow our page, our Facebook page, our Instagram page. We have our crisis helpline numbers and legal helpline numbers published on them. And you can message us, call us, email us for any form of help.
Okay. Yes. Legal and crisis helplines are 24 hours.
Right.
So, and I think the numbers are on our page, and if then we'll probably post them as well very soon.